The House at the End of Sleep, Chapter 1. The Tearing Point. From the Diary of Oren Somberdeep. I hadn't slept in 6 nights. Not really. I would close my eyes and something would press against them, soft as wet fabric, heavy as grief. My body ached for rest, but my mind kept blinking through the walls. I saw things in the stillness. Not hallucinations. Not dreams. Something else. It began with shadows gathering in corners they shouldn't. Not menacing at first, just wrong. They bled too slowly across the ceiling, clung too tightly to the legs of furniture. The lamp in the hallway began humming, even when unplugged. I passed a mirror and caught my reflection blinking a fraction too late. There was a layer of dust on the floor that never stirred, no matter how I moved. And my voice, when I dared to speak, carried with it the faint grit of dust, as though memory itself was rotting in my mouth. On the 7th night, I stopped pretending to rest. I just sat, blinking at the dark, waiting for it to swallow me whole. Sleep had turned from a need into a terrain, one I could no longer enter. That's when the house came. Not with thunder or doors slamming. No crawling fog or flickering lights. Just, there, in the corner of the room where a bookshelf used to be. A door I didn't remember owning. Painted in peeling white, the color of old milk and dried bones. A brass handle slick with condensation, like something had just breathed on it from the other side. I didn't feel fear, not exactly. More like recognition. I opened it. The air inside the threshold smelled like wilted paper and wet stone. Dim light pulsed softly, as if trying not to wake anyone. The corridor beyond curved in a way that unsettled the eye, too narrow and yet impossibly wide, with a slow bend that seemed to lean away from itself. I stepped through. The door didn't close behind me. It dissolved. No click, no wind. Just a quiet unhappening, like a page removed from a book mid-sentence. I turned, and the room I'd come from was gone. Replaced by a hallway with no visible source of light, but shadows that flickered as if cast by flames. The wallpaper was damp to the touch and patterned with things I didn't want to recognize, repetitions of shapes that looked, just briefly, like teeth. I walked. Each step made a soft sigh beneath me, as though the house was breathing with me, or against me. The floor groaned, but not in protest. More like memory. Footsteps half remembered, looping into mine. There were rooms. Some open, some closed. One filled with clocks that ticked only when I blinked. Another with a staircase that ascended into a ceiling too low to contain it. One room was full of fog, and inside it, a violin played a song I recognized from a childhood I didn't live. In another, a woman's voice whispered my name in a language I did not speak, but somehow understood. I never saw her, only her shadow, cast across a bed that pulsed like a heartbeat. Time didn't pass normally there. I felt myself forgetting the weight of days, of mornings and evenings. My name peeled from me in flakes, like sunburned skin. I tried to hold on to it, repeat it like a mantra. Oren Somberdeep. Oren Somberdeep. But even my voice started to sound unfamiliar, like someone imitating me badly. Eventually, I came to a room with no door. Just an opening, framed in red thread, as if sewn into the wall. I passed through it like a needle through cloth. Inside, everything was still. There was a bed, my bed, and me, asleep in it. But my chest wasn't rising. I watched myself for a long time, trying to decide if I was dead, or if I had finally, truly, begun to dream. Then I noticed a detail. A slow stain was blooming on the pillow, dark and deliberate. I leaned closer, and realized, it wasn't blood. It was ink. And it was writing something. Something I hadn't written yet. And all at once, I knew, this was the tearing point. The moment the mind slips loose of the tether. When sleep no longer shelters, but summons. The house had found me. And I had followed it home.